Chayla with My Make Studio, and today we are doing the Out of This World cupcake kit. So it's like a space themed cupcake kit. I'm so excited. But if the sticker on your My Make Studio box right here does not say Out of This World cupcake kit, no worries, you're probably just looking for another video, so go ahead and stop this one and go back to our YouTube channel and find the title of the video that is the same as the sticker on your box. If it does say Out of This World Cupcake Kit, welcome, it's gonna be super cool. But there are a couple things we've gotta go over before we actually get started decorating. So, number one is we actually need our cupcakes baked. So if you haven't baked your cupcakes yet, inside your My Make Studio box there is a box of cake mix, My Make Studio cake mix. And to bake those, there are just directions on the back of the box. So you can just follow those along and you should be just fine. And if you're just like, oh my gosh, Chayla, I don't have a cupcake pan. Don't worry, because inside your My Make Studio box is a cupcake pan and some liners. So I think it is super cool because when I first started decorating, I didn't have any of the tools. So I love that it comes with this. Like, I think that is so freaking awesome. But if you just have this cupcake pan, you will probably need to fill it up twice. So make your batter, fill this up, put your cupcakes in them, bake your cupcakes, take them out, then repeat until you've used all your batter, but at least you've got this guy. And then aside from that, I do recommend that your cupcakes be at least room temperature or slightly chilled. With this kit today, we are going to be doing a lot of background smoothing, so the colder they are, the easier they'll be to work with, especially if you're very new to cupcake decorating. Just the colder your cupcakes are, the easier that part's gonna be. But if you've done it before and you're like, no, I got this, room temperature should be just fine. So room temperature or slightly chilled cupcakes. And then aside from that, you need some kind of towel, like a hand towel, paper towel, kitchen towel, even like this. Just something to put our open icings on and wipe our fingers on and kind of help keep our area as clean as possible. Oh, and I feel like I should explain the reason we don't decorate our cupcakes when they first come out of the oven is because our icing will melt onto them and they'll become soupy and goopy, which might kind of work for the space theme, but we won't have as much intricate detail as I would like. So room temperature chilled, some kind of towel to help keep our space clean, and then a pair of handy dandy scissors. This is just to cut some things open and whatnot. Always recommend having a pair of scissors. And then aside from that, wash your hands super duper good. And then once you've done that, we can go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna pack everything out of my box, grab my cupcakes, and then I will show you how to do some out of this world cupcakes. Alrighty. So the idea with this kit is that there is enough stuff to make 2 of each cupcake if you would like. So you can do 2 at a time while we decorate together, or you can do 1 set with me, and then when the video's done, if you want to do another set, or if you want to get creative with your other 6 cupcakes with what you have left over, that is totally cool. But just know that you can make 2 at a time if you'd like. I will only be making 1 at a time since I am just showing you the designs and whatnot today. But the first cupcake we're going to start with is the sun. So pick out whatever cupcake or cupcakes feel like the sun to you. I'm gonna use this one. And then we're gonna go to our yellow icing. So I'm gonna take this off, and then we don't wanna lose this piece. We're actually gonna use it here in a little bit, but I'm just gonna set it aside for now. And then remove this seal. Take my scissors and remove the seals. Sometimes they're a little hard to get off. Which, I mean, that's good. I want it nice and sealed. See, this is why we have a towel. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that towel action. Ooh, see? Alrighty. So it does not matter how you put icing on this cupcake. You can do some zigzags, some polka dots, some swirly-doos, some swoopy-doops, whatever you want to do to get it on here. I'm going to do a big swirly-doo. But we want about that much icing on the cupcake. So you can do a bunch of dots or zags or lines, just whatever you feel like, however you want to put it on there. It doesn't matter, we're going to smooth it out here in a second. So inside your My Make Studio box, you also got a spatula. Oh, damn it. Spicy. So try that again. So inside your My Make Studio box, you also got a spatula. Yeah! So if you got orange, ding, high five, orange buddies. We have a bunch of different colors floating around out there. Like, we even have blue and green and whatnot. So if you got a different color, totally fine. It's completely random. but I happen to really like the orange one, so I'm very excited I got orange. But we're gonna smooth this cupcake out. We're going to do a lot of smoothing out today. So if you have a spatula at home that you prefer to this one, feel free to use that. But I'm gonna be using this guy today. I mean, I'm so excited that that also came in the box because I didn't have a spatula. But I'm gonna talk about a couple different ways to do this. So how I like to smooth things out is I put my spatula in the middle and I go side to side, but instead of it being like a windshield wiper blade, it's more like the beginning of a pirate ship ride at a carnival. So it goes a little bit this way, and then I come back and go a little bit this way. So it's a back and forth. And then you don't have to hold your finger like this, but it's just what I do. I feel like it makes it more sturdy, but you can do it this way if that feels more comfortable. But I usually hold it like this and rock back and forth. So I'm gonna put it in the center and just go side to side, yeah. And then I can take this extra, scrape it onto my cupcake, and then twirl around it. I'm just using the edge to scrape off the hangy parts that I have, like these. So this is what works for my brain to smooth things out. But everybody's brains work differently, so if this way didn't feel good to you, totally okay. Again, everybody's brains work different. So one way that my brain does not like to do, but some people's like, is that you can place your cupcake like this on your spatula and twirl your cupcake around it. I'm not very good at the twirly method, but it is a way to do it. And another way is treat your cupcake like it's a really nervous cat that you've been trying to catch its attention all day. It's finally jumped in your lap. You have to pet it. Very light amount of pressure. You're gonna pet your icing in the direction you want it to go to completely cover the top of your cupcake, which I just twirled that. So I need to fix the spot that I had. So I'm gonna lightly pet my icing. It does not have to be super duper smooth. It can be a little cattywampus. It's totally fine. We're gonna add some detail embellishments to it. But here we go. Now, I did not have this piece earlier, but I have it now because I showed the different ones. So I'm just gonna put a little more icing on there because I feel like I can see a little bit too much cupcake. And I'm going to pet it. Yes. And if you want to get crazy with this, you can do some indentation. I mean, I've already started petting my icing. You can do some swirlies. So I'm not going into my cupcake, but I'm almost to where I can feel the top of my cupcake, and I'm dragging the spatula like this to create some swirly lines. If you want your sun to look a bit more gaseous, you could also completely mess up your smooth and just go bop, 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 bop. And pet it in different directions to where you have little tails sticking up to also make it look a bit more like scary gaseous ball of sun, whichever one feels right for you. I made a smiley face. I didn't mean to, but I'm not surprised by that. Okay, I'm actually gonna leave it kind of messy. I like it like that, actually. So now we are going to go to this, which is a little bag of fun, although our little bag of fun has a lot of fun in it today. But we're going to cut the top off, and we're going to take out the baggie that has these. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything else in here, because I don't need it right now, and that way I know where it is. But if you want to dump it on the table, you do you. But these are our tips, and for our sun today, I am going to use the leaf tip to make the rays sticking out of my sun. So the leaf tip is the one that looks like a V or an alligator mouth, depending on how you're looking at it. And there's also a little booklet inside your box that has a page on what the tips are called and shows a little picture of what they do, but it is this one. So alligator mouth, V, alligator mouth, V. And then that piece I told you not to lose earlier, our lid, well, we're gonna pop this little ring out. So now this is a coupler ring, and what a coupler ring does is it attaches these tips to our tubes of icing. So I'm gonna move that. I see my elbow go in there. Yep. So I put it on top, and then I take my ring and I screw it back on over it. It doesn't have to be on there so tight that you can't take it off, but it needs to be on there tight enough. If you do this, it doesn't go flying across the room. And I will say that sometimes the icing tips like to play tag, and they're like, no, you can't catch me. No, you can't catch me. So you might need to move them around a little bit, and push your ring a little and then push down to get them on there just right. They will go on there, just sometimes they don't want to be caught. Alrighty, so I'm gonna come close to you so you can see. I am almost touching my cupcake, but not quite. It's like I'm really trying to irritate somebody, like, I'm not touching you, but I'm like in their space. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna squeeze in the same spot with it alligator mouth style. 1, 2, 3, stop and pull. If you don't stop squeezing when you pull, oh, I said that and then I did it again, I still stopped. Okay, don't stop. It gets really dangly. So to avoid that, stop before you pull back. And then if it looks like this, and you're like, what is going on? The reason it looks like that is because you were holding it like a V instead of an alligator, so you just need to turn it, which you could incorporate that in your design. I actually think I'm gonna do that today, just to give it a little bit of different texture. So you could do that back and forth. I changed my mind. I'm gonna go back to what I was doing. All right, so again, almost touching the cupcake, squeeze in the same spot. 1, 2, 3, stop and pull back. And with this, I'm going along the side of the cupcake instead of on top of it like this because I want them to stick out. So I'm just going to make rows like that all the way around my cupcake. And you don't have to hold yours up like I was doing. I just feel like it makes it easier to see when I do that, but you can totally just leave it on the table. Make as many as you can, and then turn your cupcake. And ta-da, we have the sun. So that's our first cupcake, you guys. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next one, which is going to be clouds. Clouds. We're gazing up at the sky right now before we enter outer space. So we can see the sun and we can see the clouds as we're heading up to our destination. That's how it's going in my brain anyway. So pick out whichever one feels like a cloud. And then I am going to take the blue icing, and before you put it on there, if you're making 2 cupcakes at a time, go ahead and do your second sun. If not, go ahead and wipe this off. Either way, when you're ready for the clouds, wipe this off because I don't want any yellow in my sky. If you wanted, you could use the black icing to have a night sky. Just know that you'll need to use a little bit more blue later on down the line, but I'm gonna use blue right now because I want it to be daytime. And also, I don't know why, but my brain, like whenever there's a blue dessert, that's the one I want to eat. Like blue ice cream, blue cookies, just blue icing. They taste the same, but I am convinced the blue is the best. So I want to use the blue. And then we actually won't need this for right now. So I'm just gonna take it off, and then we're gonna do the same thing we did with our first cupcake, put some icing on it, and then smooth it out. Yes! So now for the clouds. You honestly have 2 options. So you can use the open star tip, which is what I'm going to use today. It will make our clouds a bit more like poofy. Or if you, I don't know if any of you guys do this, but I still do it to where I'm outside and I'm like, oh, that looks like a dragon. Oh, that looks like a cookie. Oh, that looks like a mimic. Oh, hey, a bunny. So if you want to make your clouds look like things, I recommend the round tip instead, which is the tip that is just a circle. This one's really good for drawing things, so you could draw a weird rough outline of a shape, because the upside with clouds is they're never like perfect. So you could have your lines going like kind of weird to get the general impression of what you're making. And you could make a giant rabbit cloud if you wanted, or a giant, well, not a giant, you could make a small dragon on here if you wanted. But I'm going to use the open star tip today instead. But if you want to add more design to your clouds, which you're always welcome to, I recommend the round tip. Or if you want really small clouds, this makes really good tiny little poofs instead of really big ones like I'm about to do. But I'm going to take my white. Yes. And then I'm going to put my open star tip on, the circle with all the spikes. And then with this one, I like to hold it a little above my cupcake. So it's very similar with the leaf tip. We're not quite touching it, but we're almost touching it. And I'm going to hold it in the same spot and do 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do another one right here, like a 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3. Get some poofy clouds like that. You can even squeeze it and move it around. Ooh, I'm going to make a heart. Yes. And then another one up here. But there's no really like right or wrong way to do it. It's just however many cloud shapes you want to put on there. I'm happy with this. So these are my clouds, and if you want to create like some little wind lines, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll do it, I'm talking about it anyway. So I am gonna put that round tip on now. And I'm just gonna sideways draw some squiggles, like the wind is blowing. Give my cupcake a little bit more movement. And that is our second cupcake. So now we are going to head into our sky. So we're gonna make some stars. So for the stars, go ahead and grab whatever cupcake feels like stars to you. And then I still have blue on my spatula, but I'm gonna use blue in this cupcake here in a little bit. So I'm honestly gonna leave it on here. I don't feel like I need to wipe it off, but if you would like to wipe it off, you totally can. I'm gonna grab my cupcake and then we'll make some stars. So I'm going to take my blue again, and I am going to add a swirl, about like this, like a large Hershey kiss. And then I'm going to pet this icing to the edges because I'm going to smooth it out here in a second, but I want to do something kind of weird. I know, shocker, right? Chayla, weird? No. No. If you've never decorated with me before, I would not use the word normal to describe myself. But that's, normal's boring. At least for me. I don't have it in me to be normal. Awesome. So if you would like, and you're just like, no, it's pretty in blue, you can stop and wait till we go over making our stars. But I want to add some kind of tie-dye swirls to this. So I'm going to take my black icing, and we only need a little bit. And then I am not going to put a tip on this. You can if you want. I'd recommend not putting the round one on there because we will need that for our next cupcake. And it will just take a long time to clean the black icing out of it. Not a long time, but it's just an extra step I don't feel like you need to do. So I've got a little bit, and I'm gonna blob it, blob it, blob it, blob it, blob it. I didn't even squeeze my icing that whole time. That is all from the little piece that started coming out as soon as I undid the seal. Just very short blobs, because this is a very overpowering color. It is way easier to add more of this color if you want it a bit darker than to try and tone it back down. So we're gonna start small, and they've got options. You need to take your spatula and drag it in different directions that you want it to go. Or you can take your spatula like this, and that's why I pet my icing instead of smoothing it out. You can swirl it together to create this kind of like vortex effect. Or you can then do the back and forth to also tie-dye it. Either way works, just we're gonna incorporate this into our blue. I kind of like to do a mix of all three, to be honest. I like to pet it a little bit, I like to swirl it, and then I like to flatten it slightly to give it a little bit more lines. Because we are still just starting to get into our sky. Yes, yes. Okay, so now we're gonna play with fondant. So if you have any icing on your hands, go ahead and wash your hands first, and then make sure that they are very dry before you come back. You can mix up fondant and shape it with wet fingers, but water makes fondant very sticky. and it gives it a weird texture while you're trying to shape things, and then it's gonna like be creating these like little gooey tendrils and stuff, and it's just a weird feeling. So to avoid that, I recommend that you dry your hands, but we don't want any icing on our fingers because it will stain our fondant. So that way our fondant stays the color it's supposed to. But when you're done with that, if you need to pause me, I'll be right here when you get back, no worries at all. But I am going to take out my yellow fondant. And if you've never played with fondant before, fondant is basically like Play-Doh you can eat. It tastes better. But I think it's super awesome. But I was also the kid that like played with Play-Doh and polymer clay all the time and made like little figurines. So I love fondant. I think it's great. It reminds me a lot of Play-Doh, and it's just like Play-Doh you can eat. Like that you can legitimately eat. I think that's so neat. But I like to cut the top off and then slide my scissors down here just so I can unwrap it kind of like a candy bar. But if you cut it open and you rip it out in chunks, it's okay. It's not gonna hurt it. I'm gonna show you about how much we need for each one anyway. So for our stars, we want about 1/4 of this. So I'm gonna cut that. I'm going to take the piece that I cut, this big old piece, I'm gonna set aside for now. And then I'm going to rip this in half and mush them with my hands. I like to play with it with my hands. Plus I feel like it makes it soft and easier to work with. Awesome. So whenever we shape anything, I think it is easiest to start from a ball. So I'm going to roll one of them into a ball. And then I'm going to tell you 2 different ways you can make stars. Oh, I guess 3 different ways you can make stars. So number 1 is we're going to squash this. We're going to pancake it. And then if you have a small star cookie cutter at home, you can use that. You can also either pinch it out or roll it out to make it a bit thinner if you have a cookie cutter. If you don't have a cookie cutter, another way you can do it is you can just cut out the shape. So honestly, I'm going to take one of my lollipops and I'm going to use the end of it. And I'm going to use it as an impression tool. And I'm going to draw the shape of a star into my fondant. Like that. And then you can take your scissors and cut along that to make a star, or you can do the pinch method, which usually I do the pinch method, but I also don't have really long fingernails. If you have longer fingernails than mine, your nails might end up biting into the fondant doing the pinch method, so that way there's another option in case the pinch doesn't work for you. Again, everybody's different, everybody's brain works different. Either way, we're trying to get some star shapes. But for the pinch method, I'm still going to pancake it. And then I'm going to pick apart with my pincher fingers, pinch an end, turn it, pinch it, turn it, pinch it, and then pinch it again. Ta-da! And then if you want them to be a bit wider, so I pinched this way, pinch the other way. And then you can re-pinch the points, because I like them nice and pointy. That's just me, though. Ta-da! So I usually just make 2 stars. You could rip this up into another size and have 3 stars on there if you'd like. Or you can combine them and have 1 giant star. It is totally up to you. I'm going to do 2 stars. So I'm going to put this one here. And then I'm going to make another one. Ooh, I am going to make 3. So I'm going to rip it. But you can do 2, you can do 1, you can do 3. I mean, you could probably even do 5 if you wanted. It's however many stars you want to make. The method is the same regardless. They just might be smaller. 2 stars. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it just depends on the day, you guys. Sometimes I want 2, sometimes I want 3. Today I wanted 3. It's my cupcake. But, ta-da! And then, I mean, we're already here, you guys. I'm going to talk about an extra mile step, just in case you want to do it. So I took that round tip off of my white, and I'm going to put it on my yellow. And it's the one that's just a circle. And then you can rinse it out in the sink, but since it's white icing and I put it right on the yellow, it's not going to take it very long to squeeze out. So just squeeze for about 6 seconds. Yes, you actually get a really pale yellow color before it goes full yellow, and I kind of want to incorporate that. So you can add some swooping lines to make them shooting stars if you want. Which, yes, you could also put this on one of your icing colors, and you could give your stars like faces if you wanted, which would be awesome. Lots of options, you guys. I like options. Oh, yes, they're like spinning in a circle. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. But again, you do not have to do this part if you don't want to. It's just an extra mile step. It's just something else you can do if you'd like, and I think it makes it look cool. Alrighty, we're gonna move on to our next cupcake, which is going to be, we have started to get into space and we can see planets. So the first part is going to be basically the same as what we did for our stars. I put down some blue and black and I swirl it together. I usually like a bit more blue than black still. Our next two cupcakes are gonna be the opposite. So the last two we're gonna do today are gonna use more black than blue. But it is up to you on which one you want to do. So I am going to do what I did before and add just a little bit more black. I'm going to make it slightly darker. So I'm going to grab my cupcake and then I will show you how to do that. So I went ahead and did the same thing I did last time, but I'm going to add a little bit more black. So, boop. Oh, I say a little bit more. I'm going to add this much. And, oh yeah, I'm going to like, yeah. And if you feel like you put too much on there, you can scrape some of it off. Just leave it in a little pile. I'm gonna swirl this guy. Yes. So it's just slightly more black than my last one. Like we're getting darker as we go further into space. That's what's happening in my space themed journey with cupcakes today. I'm a creative, you guys. I've got a story going on right now. But I've got this, and then with your white icing or your yellow icing, you can draw stars. So for your stars, depending on how far away you want this perspective to be, you can just make little dots, or you can draw stars. I'm not the, like, what is the word I'm looking for? I like to draw, but stars is not my strong suit. So I usually just do the whole make a weird A thing for my star, which works out when it's small because you can't tell that that's what's going on. But I'm going to do a mix of all of them. So I want some close-up stars like that. And then I want some little tiny dots. And again, you can do one or the other, or you could do your white icing. It is totally up to you. They're your cupcakes. You're the ones making them. So do whatever feels right for you. I want you to be happy with your cupcakes. So don't, if you're like, no, I don't really like both of those, Chayla, then you don't have to do both of them. Do which one feels right for you. And if you like the white better than the yellow, then do that one. Yes! It's so cute already! I like it! I like it a lot. But I want to add some planets. And I love suckers. Like, I for real do. So, you have 4 suckers. The idea is that 2 can go on a cupcake. So, 2 for one, 2 for the other. But if you want to put 1 on one and 3 on the other, or if you just like, no. Totally up to you how you want to divvy them out. I'm going to put 2. And it's completely random colors. We have like a ton of colors of suckers. So, look at the colors that you got and decide what feels right. So I don't want to do yellow since I did yellow stars. I feel like for me, then that'd be a little bit too much yellow. And I'm a fan of all the colors, if you can't tell. Same thing with blue. So I guess that leaves pink and orange for me. And we're just going to stick them in. Ta-da! You can also, if you want, to embellish them a bit more. add just a little bit of icing to them. Yes! That's awesome. Ooh, I would probably do blue. I would do white on the other. I gotta do it now, you guys. I gotta do it. It's creative time with Shayla. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're getting lots of ideas and you're having fun making your cupcakes. Because that's the point. I want you guys to have fun. This is just art class that we get to eat when it's done, and I think that's awesome. So I'm not going to use a lot, but I'm going to use a little bit. That's so cool. Ta-da! So because I did the perspective that way, I actually meant to have them the other way so you could see these stars, but I put them in this way. I'm just going to draw another star. I do like stars. I don't know if you can tell. I wore my star earrings today. I think they're pretty. They're just not my strong suit for drawing, but tiny ones for icing work out. And there we go, you guys. We have entered space. We see our planets as we're traveling through this cupcake class. Da-da-la. That's awesome. That's so cool. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next cupcake, which is going to be another planet cupcake, but we're going to make it a little bit differently. So now that we are traveling deeper into space and we're getting closer to our planets, I like to use more black icing for the last two cupcakes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my cupcake and then come back and show you how we are going to mix up some planets today. Okay. Cupcake! So I'm going to put a line of black icing. I have no tip on. And then another one. And then I'm going to take my blue icing and put a little line of it. And then I'm actually going to take a little bit of the white and do the same thing. And then I don't care that my spatula has stuff on it because I'm going to mix it into this. But I like to swirl this one. And I like to drag my blue and my white through the black. And then just kind of pet the rest of it because I want to keep those streaks. I think it makes it look more like galaxy that way. Which, if you have powdered sugar at home, you could lightly, like, sprinkle some on there and that would look like stars too. If you have it. Okay. Yeah. So I felt like there was a little too much black there, so I am just scraping that part off, dragging it this way, and getting my edges. Yes, this is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I'm just pulling that blue line very lightly with that nervous cat pet in different directions until I think it looks cool. That's so awesome. That's really cool, I think. So now for planets. We already have our yellow fondant open. Let's go ahead and open up our green and our red. And it is up to you how you want to combine these to make planets. I usually make two. I am going to make two this time. I know I said that with the stars and then I made three, but I'm going to make two. And I personally like to do red and orange and then green and, or not red and orange, red and yellow and then green and yellow for this one. So I'm going to cut off about, I'll need a little bit more red. So I'm going to cut off about this much red. So if you ripped it all up, you need about this much. And then I'm going to cut off about the same for my green. And then I'm going to go back to my yellow and cut off two strips that are the same size. So you can even put your strip on there if you have it in a rectangle and cut it that way. Or you can just eyeball it. Now if you would rather mix these two together instead, you totally can. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to mix them this way. So to tie-dye our fondant, you want to set them on each other like this. twist them, and then you've got to actually mush them and mix them up. So when I say mush and mix up, if you just go squeeze, squeeze, like nothing happens. It didn't change. It's still two separate pieces. So if you actually mush it, yes, you will start to get this swirly tie-dye effect. Now, if you keep mushing it up over and over and over, eventually it is going to become like a shade of orange. And I want to keep the two-tone in. So I just mix it up until I think it looks cool and I stop. So I'm actually going to stop right here and then roll it into a ball. Awesome. So then I'm going to do the same thing. And just mush it until I think it looks cool. Which I do really, I'm a fan of neon green though, so if you overmix this one and it becomes a pale neon green, I also think that looks cool. But I want the tie-dye swirls. For me. It's so cool. And then I just set them like so. Ta-da! And then if you want to go and add those little stars like we did with our last cupcake, you totally can. Or if you want to do that powdered sugar trick, if you have some at home, just lightly dust it. But I like it like this. I'm going to leave it like this. And it is time for our final cupcake, you guys, which is one big planet. So this one, I actually put my black icing on first, and then I lightly streak my blue through. So let me put my black icing on the cupcake, and then I will show you how I streak the blue through, and then I'll show you the last planet. We're almost done with our space travels. So I put it on the same way we've been putting the blue on, and then I'm going to do that pet thing down. I like to do the pet thing down when I streak things, because when I streak it, I'm going to end up flattening it. So this way, when it still has the height, I'm less likely to start ripping into my cupcake. So that's why I do the pet method for these instead of flattening them out. And I leave the little dome on top. Trying to cover up all of this cupcake. Yes. Okay. So now I am going to wipe this black icing off. Yay for a towel. And then if you want, you can put a tip on this, or you can leave it as is. But I'm going to squeeze some out first, like how when we first opened our black icing. And I'm just going to put a few little dots going in a circle, one in the center, like this. The reason I'm doing it this way is I'm going to streak it to where it's kind of like a swirly vortex. That's what I'm going for. So I put my spatula on my blue blob, and then I apply pressure like that. Hooga, hooga, hooga is what I'm doing, except less dramatic. That's how it's going in my head, though. I feel like sound effects help. Because now I can't stop. And then when I get here, I curve it too. And then I start curving it this way. I'm going to wipe that off because I got some black on there. I just want to streak my blue. And now I'm cutting it a little bit with the side of my spatula. Yes, because I wanted it a little bit more faded. Oh, that's cool. That's so cool. So that is how I did that. I put black down first, and then I put blue in a circle, 2 rows of circles. I took my spatula, I went like this, and waka, waka. So I did waka, turn my cupcake, waka, turn my cupcake, waka, turn my cupcake. So I could see the swirl as it was happening. If you're not holding your cupcake up like that, just waka, turn, waka, turn, waka, turn. Yeah. So now for one big planet, I usually use the green, and I cut more than we have been. So I cut about this. So this is like 2 sizes. Like what we just did was like one, like this cut in half. But I like it like this. And then I'm going to moosh it. Moosh it. Roll it into a ball. And then stop. And then it is up to you. You can do yellow or red. I'm gonna do red. I am gonna cut the same amount as we did last time, so about this. And then I should have brought this up, if your fondant feels a little stiff now, it's because when fondant is in the air, it starts to stiffen up. Sorry guys, we're in space, I didn't think about oxygen. But it starts to stiffen up and dry out. So if you just mush it with your hands, which I always do anyway, it makes it nice and soft again. But this time, we are gonna treat our fondant like a tube, or like Play-Doh. We're gonna make a tube snake. So, make a tube snake, which I do think making a tube snake is much easier on your table, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. About like this. Now, you can just then, that's a ring, and set it on it, but I actually feel like this is a little too much. So I always recommend like holding it up and seeing. So I'm gonna rip some off. I'm gonna roll it just a little bit more. Yes. And then you can leave it rounded like this, or you can flatten it, which is what I'm gonna do. So I'm just going to go around and mush it to where it kind of looks like a strawberry ring or peach ring. Then I still feel like that's too big, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. See, it's like my favorite thing with fondant. You can just play with it until it feels right. Sweet, yes, I like this. And then I like to give it another pinch to kind of widen these guys out. Totally your call there. And then I set it on the cupcake. I usually set it in the center. And then if you want to make like a really tiny planet, you can. You could also grab your icing, and if you want to put lines in your rings around your plant, like lines in your rings, you can, or you can do polka dots on your planet. Totally your call. I'm going to leave it like this. And that is it, you guys. That is the Out of This World Cupcake Kit. High five, we did it. We went to space, we came back, we have dessert. All right, you guys, that is it. Thank you so much for coming today. I hope that you had fun, and I hope that you enjoyed our trip through space cupcake decorating, and I also hope that you enjoy eating them, because that's like the next best part. But if you would like to share your beautiful creations with us, like maybe you did one star, maybe you did your planets different than mine, or you added the rings at the end, like I would love to see them. One of my favorite things about these kits is that we're all doing the same thing, but you guys always put your own spin and personality into them, and that's just like, that's so cool, you guys. Especially for me, because in my world, like I said earlier, it's like art class. Like, this is just art. Cake and cupcakes are just art that you can eat. And art is unique, just like you are, so I love the fact that you guys put your own personal styles and touches on the cupcakes. And if you would like to share them with us, I always love seeing them. You can just head to our website, which is mymakestudio.com, and click on the Chef Chayla tab, and there'll be an option to upload your photos, and then you'll become part of the Bakers Club and get a certificate from me. So if you'd like to share, that's how you do that. But also if you're like, no, these are mine, totally fine. You do not have to share your cupcakes if you don't want to. There is no pressure to do so. But if you would like to share them, it is not a bother. I really do love seeing what you guys do. And if you are on our website, which again is My Make Studio, it's right here, you can check out what other kits we have. We also have a bunch of other cupcake ones. We have round cakes, square cakes. We have all kinds of stuff on there. So if you need more decoration in your life, that's a good place to check out. And then if you would like to follow any of our social media, it is all at My Make Studio. So our Facebook and Instagram are at My Make Studio. And those are good places to follow to see like what new and upcoming things we have going on, or any deals or anything like that. If you didn't know, we're Colorado based. So if you just kind of want to see what's going on in Colorado and what we're doing, that is a good place to check out. And then we also have a TikTok, which is also at My Make Studio. And our TikTok is kind of like me doing treats at home and some cupcake decorating with some like hair dye and makeup thrown in. For example, if you want to see how I did this makeup look today, there is a video on that. But just if you want to follow any of them, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are at My Make Studio. And then if you would like you can go to our website, look at what else we have, or you can upload your photos so I can see what you did. I'm so excited to see what kind of creative spins you guys put on this today. And if you have a story going on with your cupcakes, I would also love to hear it, so I know I'm not the only crazy cupcake lady out there that's like, no, this is what's happening narratively. But thank you again so much for coming, you guys. I really do mean it. I really do hope you had a good time and that you enjoy eating your beautiful creations. And as always, stay creative.